Hey, IG. Look, oh, I don't have no earrings on. Oh well. It's sometimes it be like that. Anywho, it's your girl, Y Renee here. It's 7 o'clock on the dot. I told you I'm trying to be visible and persistent and consistent. So, anyway, welcome to my live. I am Y Renee, trauma recovery coach, and I just wanted to welcome you here to the month of August. We are now in day 4 of August, and I'm so excited. For those who are watching live or coming on live, thank you so much for joining me. For those who are going to watch the replay, I hope that I am giving you some added value or some content that resonates with you. And if it doesn't necessarily resonate with you, please like, share, comment, and share it with someone else. Well, hello, baby girl. Anywho, let's get started with this conversation tonight. Gonna be brief because I don't want to sound like I'm becoming repetitive and things of that nature. However, this topic is really good to me, but I'm so excited because starting tomorrow and quite a few days out of the month, I will have people on actually with me, and I'll be interviewing them, and we'll be actually having conversations, so you all don't have to be bored by just listening to me talk, okay? Because people would like to say that I like to hear myself talk, and most times I really don't. So tonight's conversation is what happens when you or your significant other or spouse want a divorce and the other one doesn't. So let's just say, for instance, I want a divorce. It's true. I wanted the divorce. My ex-husband didn't. So that's my scenario. So what happens when that happens? First of all, you would hope that you all exhausted every opportunity or chance to make the marriage work. Because again, as I've stated the 3 days before, marriage is something that you should not step into lightly. If you use the word divorce in your vocabulary before you even get married, you're setting yourself up for failure. However, if you're in this marriage now and for whatever reason it seems to be breaking down, you're not happy anymore, they're not happy anymore, or maybe you're not happy but they think that they're happy because they're content, maybe complacent, just kind of going with the routine or the flow of things, just to go with the motion of the ocean, and they don't realize that some needs are not being met, or they're not really concerned with their needs being met, and they feel like your needs are being met when they're really not. So it's all about communication, which I always say all the time. I had to learn a hard lesson in the last couple years about not communicating properly. So I know throughout my marriage, being young then too, I did not communicate properly. However, I was also in an abusive relationship, which kind of takes that communication part out the door, only because most abusers and narcissistic people don't care nothing about your communication, because if it's not their way, it's no way, period. So no matter if I would have voiced my opinion then or not, or voiced things that I was not happy about, it really wouldn't have made too much of a difference, or it didn't make too much of a difference. I can give examples all day long, whereas I was not happy with him not taking care of certain things in the house, and it ended up being a shouting match at the end, saying if I didn't do it, if he didn't do it, then why didn't I do it, or it was my job to do it and he wasn't going to do it. So communication with him was like a mute point. However, when I go back to this topic about whether or not one person wants to stay and the other one doesn't, this is when you have an opportunity to sit down and actually communicate, whether you need to bring in a third party to mediate, counsel, things of that nature, because again, I believe it's just a lack of communication. I don't necessarily believe that people outgrow each other, unless of course one person is just really oblivious to the whole relationship. I tell people all the time, when people say, oh, you changed, I expect you to change. Why? Because we're an ever-evolving person. Time doesn't stop for anybody, and seasons change. So if seasons change and time doesn't stop, why wouldn't I not expect you to change? Even if it's just a little bit. I'm not the same person I was 4 minutes before I started this live. I had a conversation with someone, and they kind of sparked interest in something that I need to be doing, and it made me realize that's something I definitely need to be doing. So as soon as I get off this live, I need to start executing and implementing what we talked about. I'm changing. I'm open to suggestions. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to change and move so I could be a better person. And a lot of times we get in these relationships with people, especially if you marry young, and I think marrying young is a great thing. However, If people stop communicating and not understanding what's going on, that's where the problem lies in. And first and foremost, what we have to realize is no matter how much we think our significant other or person is perfect, they are not. They are human. They're flawed. They're going to make errors. They're not going to make you happy every day, and you're not going to make them happy every day. If we were all perfect, guess what we would not be? Here on earth. Because there would be no need for heaven, hell, earth. And again, like I tell people all the time, I'm a woman of faith, so I believe in all of that. But if we were perfect people, there would not be crime in the world. There would not be people hurting each other. There would not be divorce. There would not be everything that's negative in the world would not exist if we were a perfect people. The world would be perfect. Everybody would be happy. There would be no need for yours not perfect, baby. Understood. So we have to understand that when we go into these relationships, quit putting people up on pedestals. Quit putting titles and emphasis on things that they're not capable of doing or capable of holding up. Because the minute they slip up, do something wrong, not communicate with you, shut down, don't cook your dinner the way you like it cooked, don't fold your drawers the way you like them folded, whatever the case may be, you're going to have a problem. And most times, 9 times out of 10, we have those problems because we're afraid of hurting the other person's feelings, or we are looking at them like they it's just the end of the world. We don't communicate, and then things fall off. So when we're talking about divorce and marriage, again, if one person says they want to get a divorce and the other one doesn't, you all really need to have a conversation to see where the lack of communication came in or failed at. Because again, if one person thinks that this marriage is good or at least decent enough for you all to continue to be married, but the other one is ready to pack their stuff and leave, there is something going on. Whether it's you've lost interest because they're not attentive anymore, you all don't go out anymore, you feel like it's monotony, the same thing over and over again, then maybe it's not necessarily them. Maybe you should add something to the mix too. It's not, you can't put everything off on your partner. Marriage is a partnership. 50-50 give and take. No, I'm sorry, 100 and 100, because you got to give 100% of yourself or it's going to fail. So 100 and 100, give and take. Sometimes you might have to give and compromise a little bit more than most times. And then your partner will have to do the same thing. But what you have to realize that these are things that you have to do, or else it's not going to work. And again, I understand. Trust me. Now, this is me talking to my female counterparts. Males, don't take this personally if you're watching. But sometimes men can be a little selfish. And what I mean by selfish is we spoil them as women. And we allow them to get over and do a lot of things. We're real passive, and we may say, oh, that's okay, don't worry about today. And then we give them so many passes, then eventually they think it's okay to continue passing. So when we have an attitude because we've passed over so many things, it becomes a problem. And now they're wondering why we're mad. Because we're not communicating. We're accepting what they're giving us because we love them so much. And we're so concerned about how they feel and what they want to do that we let our stuff pass. If you want to go on a date, open your mouth and say you want to go on a date. If you want to stay home and just watch a movie, say you want to stay home and watch a movie. If you want to go on vacation, tell them you want to go on vacation. Mind you, all of this stuff you probably should talk about before you get married to make sure you're compatible, because some people just don't like to travel. Some people don't like going out. And if you're somebody who's an extreme extrovert and you're marrying somebody that's an extreme introvert, 9 times out of 10, even though opposites attract, it's a possibility it may not work unless you all understand. Because, excuse me, I do have friends who one person is constantly traveling because their mate does not like to travel. The mate doesn't care though. The mate helps them pay for the trip, tell them to enjoy themselves. And the compromise is, at least if this person says, let's just give a crazy number, this person travels 10 months out the year. The agreement is that the significant other needs to travel with them at least one time once a year. That's the agreement that they made. And it works fine for them. Why? Because they communicate. This person is a social butterfly. They are always connecting. They're on social media. They go out to gatherings with friends or whatever have you. The other person is an introvert. They don't particularly care to be around people like that. They don't like going to parties. They don't like hosting parties. But the agreement is, through compromise, they go out to gatherings maybe 3 3 times a year, and they may host one party, and then the other person who's the extrovert who like kicking it all the time is free to go about the country. Go about the cabin, whatever that little saying is. But it works for them because they communicated, even though they're very opposite. That does not always work for everybody. If you find somebody who hates to travel, doesn't want to take chances, 9 times out of 10, if you want to travel, eventually they may agree at first, but somewhere in the end, it's not going to continue to work out. It's going to be an issue. I shouldn't necessarily say that, because anything is workable, but 9 times, like I said, 9 times out of 10, those relationships are the most difficult. But everything I'm going to say throughout the month of August pertaining to divorce conversation, it all goes back to having a conversation. You have to be honest, not only with them, but with yourself. Quit trying to cover up your feelings or cover up something because you don't want to hurt their feelings. If they truly love you, if you all understand what marriage is and that it takes work, if you are offended, you should be able to tell that person you're offended. If they're doing something you don't like, you should be able to tell that person it's something you don't like, and not hold it in and let it fester to where it causes a rift. And then now you just through because you don't want to be bothered. You're tired. It makes no sense. You stop caring for the person and you're just going through the motions because there's a piece of paper. You're going through the motions because you all have a house together. You're going through the motions because you have kids together, but you're miserable. And in you being miserable, most likely you make everybody around you miserable too. So with that being said, the biggest thing is when two people, one person is on one page and one's on the other, you need to sit down and have that hard conversation. Sometimes difficult conversations can end up being the best conversations because they're conversations that are had. Difficult conversations are the best conversations because they're conversations that need to be had. And once they're had, there's so much clarity, so much understanding, and something that you may feel is huge because it's your feelings, your attitude, and how you feel about it. Once you have that hard conversation with the person and they give their side, their explanation, there may be apology if there needs to be one, you probably will feel 100 pounds lighter, and you might even realize that what you're so upset about, what you wanted to deal with or didn't want to deal with, really wasn't as big as you made it to be. So I believe wholeheartedly that even if somebody's ready to go, they may not really be ready to go. They're just looking for somebody to fight for them. However, there are those cases where people are just tired. They don't want to fight anymore. They don't want to work at it. They feel like they want a new lease on life, midlife crisis, as most people call it. Difficulties of doing whatever have you. I've had people come and tell me that somebody waits until 12, 20-some, 30-some years of marriage to finally say they're tired, they don't want to do this no more. Or they want to step out because they're bored with their relationship, thinking that something is better on the outside. When you build something with somebody that long, for you to feel that you need to leave because you're tired of it is such a slap in the face. It's so disrespectful. But again, I think that it's because of communication, the lack thereof rather, that people that wait that long to do something like that, they decide to leave. So when you talk about separating and when you have to, again, like I said yesterday, I always think that you should bring a mediator in, and counseling in before you make that final decision. However, but if you're at your wit's end and you're through, again, if you feel like your fight is gone and you don't feel like fighting anymore, I'm not an advocate for divorce, but I am an advocate for happiness. I am a happiness for peace of mind. I am an advocate for living your best life without feeling like you're struggling, and every day it's a constant depressing state because you don't know how the person is going to react. They're not going to change. You're not going to change. You guys are just like robots in the house together, just coexisting. I remember the last year of my marriage, so many things were going on, and I really was trying to plan to leave. So I knew I was done. Again, because of being abused, it's a totally different story. However, but I knew I was done, and we literally were just coexisting in a house. Like literally, I quit. If I slept in the same bed with him, I slept on my side. Don't want you touching me. I don't want to do nothing for you. I stopped cooking for both of us. I stopped doing laundry. Well, at least his laundry. I stopped doing his laundry. I stopped not being concerned with letting you know where I am if I didn't come straight home from work. I didn't care if you told me where you were, if you decided not to come home from work. All of that. It did not matter anymore. It was just a straight, like, I'm over it. And that's when you know, again, that it's not healthy to coexist. Again, my situation totally different. There was no talking. There was no fixing mine. Why? Because he didn't think he needed help. The last altercation we got into was maybe almost 2 years before we actually separated. And he promised he would never put his hands on me again. And from that day to this one, he's held his promise, thank God. However, the line had already been drawn in the sand and I was already done. And there were other things that was going on, like lying, infidelity. And I just had my feel. So there was no talking for me. There was no staying. There was no trying to work it out. Another thing is, again, I always say you should always get counseling. Well, one of the things that he refused to do was get counseling. At least it was until he put me out. Then he decided he might get some counseling. I think he may have went for like maybe 2-3 weeks, maybe a month. And that was it. But if you're not willing to work forth and put forth the effort, it's not going to work. If you don't realize that what you have is valuable and it's worth working for, again, these marriages are more than a regular job. And I can promise you, I preferred at that time going to my job than I did being home in my marriage. I was tired of working. I felt like I was putting in 16-hour shifts by myself. And nobody else was working with me. So if I got to put in 8 and 16 is 24. That's 24 hours in a day. So if I'm working 8 at my job and then I got to come home and put in an extra 16 with no assistance, with no help, with no dialogue, I was over it. I was just really tired. So that's tonight's topic. I'm going to close out early, but I'm really excited. So tomorrow, you all, I really need you to tune in. Please share this, like, comment, share this with your family and friends. Tomorrow starts my interviews. I have one wonderful person by the name of Tanya. She'll be on with me tomorrow talking about her journey through her divorce. She had children, so we'll probably talk about kids and divorce, and we'll go from there, and we'll just see how the conversation goes. I'm really excited. So again, if you're watching this live, I appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for coming back and taking the time to spend these 20-something minutes with me. And I appreciate you so much. Please like, share, comment. If you want to join me, I have a few more dates left in the month of August if you want to be interviewed. Just inbox me and I'll tell you what dates I have available. I'll be more than happy to have you on. I'm really excited about the guests that I have this month. I'm really looking for men. I have 2 men. Believe it or not, you guys, it's going to be real interesting. I have 2 men already scheduled for the month. I need a few more men. So if you guys are out there and you're willing to share your story of divorce, even if you're remarried, that's perfectly fine. So just get in touch with me. DM me. Thank you, baby girl. I appreciate you staying with me. That's my daughter, y'all. So, if you're some men and you don't mind telling your story about divorce, whether you got remarried again or not, whether you're in the process of dating or not, that's really good conversation. And I think that these are conversations but you're learning, baby girl. You're not married yet, but it's coming. These are conversations that need to be had because I believe just having the conversations and talking about the triggers and traumas of divorce and the things that deal with it, I hope I'm helping people, even those people like my daughter is not married yet, hopefully soon. But even people that are not married, at least they know what to kind of look for, what challenges they may or may not be up against and things of that nature. So these conversations are just really to help. And if you need any coaching to come out of traumatic events, please by all means get in touch with me. I am taking clients. And we could talk about it. I'll send you my calendar link and we could set up an initial consultation. So with that being said, I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is Y Renee, your trauma recovery coach. You have a good evening. Thank you.